Hello everyone, today I'm going to do a video on my Team Associated 12R5.2. Now, you can probably tell that this isn't any ordinary 12R5.2. I've actually gone ahead and I've done some modifications to it to kind of bring it up to speed with the rest of the chassis that are out there. Like the X-Ray style, the CRC, the Yokomo setups. As you can see, the battery position is now running transverse, and this is quite easy to do to set it up this way. All you need to do is sand away the locator lugs on the graphite brace here, and then what you want to do is apply some form of stop. What I've done is I've used a foam strip with adhesive backing. Now this is relatively dense foam, so you want to look for a foam strip that's quite dense and with an adhesive backing. Now, one thing when you're doing this modification, especially with the graphite, when you're sanding that down, wear a mask and do it in a well-ventilated area, because you don't want to inhale that stuff because it's really bad for you. Okay? So, and that will allow me to run the battery in a transverse position. Now, if you're worried about the battery sliding side to side, you can easily put like a grip pad here that will help the battery from sliding side to side. Okay, and then next, the side links. I tried the Team Associated side links. They did not work. They were just binding all the time. I got rid of those and I went with the Yokomo R12 side links, and they work perfect. Just snap them on and they worked perfect. Side springs. I decided to change things up a bit, and I went with a CRC. These are CRC 0.45 side springs. There are various rates of side springs. I picked up 45, 50, and 55 side spring rates. Just something different for the new year. Test them out, see how they work. Yeah, we'll see how those go for the new year. If they don't work well, I can just simply go to the Team Associated black side springs, which seem to be the go-to spring for this Team Associated chassis. Next is the damper. As you can see here, I did away with this kit damper. I didn't even build it, actually. I just went with the Team Prime damper. Now this is a great damper for the price. You should be able to get that anywhere, particularly in the States. Easy to get. Or if you can't get that, you can get the Square RC one, which is a really nice damper as well. Now, as you can see here, I've added a little bit of an extension here, which you can easily do yourself. All you need to do is get a certain length, say, I don't know, maybe that's about 10 millimeters in length. Make sure both ends are threaded, so you can thread it onto the end here of the shock, and also thread maybe a fair length set screw to this point here to connect the ball cup. And then I did away with that whole graphite assembly that hangs around here, because in all honesty, I found that mount wasn't actually very sturdy. It was quite flexible, and it was just pretty much useless. And I got rid of that, and I saved quite a bit of weight by getting rid of that, and I just used simply an aluminum post here, which is about 20 millimeters high. And that's that. So there you go. You got a nice setup here, a nice long damper, which seems to be the way to go with current 112 scales. So that's pretty much it with this setup here. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. The rear pod assembly, it's pretty much stock. Team Associated's got that right. Front end, I decided to go with Team Bomber aluminum bulkhead, aluminum caster block. Sorry, really tough, really durable. I've had great success with these, no problems whatsoever. So I've gone with these bulkheads. They bolt straight on, no problems, no modifications. And now the center bracing here, this is just what I did. I just had really long spacers here. I think this was like maybe 15 or 20 millimeters. I just added two on the one side, shims just to take up any extra length, and two countersunk washers with a small O-ring in between. This helps with bracing on the front end. As you can see here, when I apply pressure on the chassis, you'll see the middle O-ring squeeze. Now, in order for that to actually flex inwards, I actually have a set screw going about to this length and this length. So in the middle, this O-ring is actually floating. It's actually captured by the two countersunk washers. It's kind of like cupping the washer in between there. So if I wanted to completely lock that brace, I would just simply extend out the set screws that are holding these two sections together. So yeah, you can adjust that, or if you want to go ahead and run the graphite center brace, you cannot run the graphite center brace right now if you're running 2mm shims in between the bulkhead and the caster block on both sides, which obviously you want to do. But you can get away with this by running the team associated 12R5 front graphite brace. I just didn't even bother searching for it, but a lot of guys on RC Tech said you're good to go with using a 12R5 models cross brace. Other things I had done, I went with titanium screws all around, and that's pretty much it. Titanium turnbuckles, and one thing I did purchase, which I would highly suggest a lot of you guys doing, is with the team associated steering blocks. Those steering blocks are a tight fit on the kingpins. Regardless of what kingpin manufacturer you buy, that be Xeon or Team Associated, you're going to have to ream out the suspension blocks. And so I went ahead and I bought this reamer here. And this reamer is 1/8 in diameter. But when you're actually reaming out the steering blocks, don't go crazy with the reamer. Just a light feed through the block, and that's it. You shouldn't have to do too much, because this will remove the material quite easily. So this is by Niftech, and this reamer here is perfect for, you know, freeing up the steering block when the kingpin goes through. So that's pretty much it. Everything worked out well. Everything was great. The only downside to the whole build was the side links. I just couldn't figure out why they were binding. Oh, one other little trick here. If you want to protect the front end, these are Yokomo little cap ends. Those are Yokomo R12 cap ends, which I think come in a package with some body posts. What you'll have to do is ream out the hole a little bit larger in order for it to fit correctly, but it works. And we'll save the front end as best as it can, and that's pretty much it. All right, well, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, please let me know. One little tip I do have is if you do have a touring car, let me find it in here. This guy. If you have one of these Drupe gauges, I highly suggest picking up one of these, because when you're driving your 112 scale, especially with these team associated vehicles, the points at where the lower arm mounts to, if you have a crash or if you have a rollover or whatever, the axle height might change. It could be different on the left or the right hand side. But this gauge here, what you do is you take all the tires off, lay the chassis on a flat surface, and just run this gauge, which is a Drupe gauge with fine increments, underneath the kingpin and see if both sides are even. This is the only gauge you need with nice fine increments, and this will help detect if there's any problems with the ride height of the left and right axle, and it will also help with making sure that your Drupe settings on both left and right hand side are even, because if one side is lower than the other, that means that the Drupe settings will be different as well. Okay, bye-bye.